So good afternoon and namaste. Um, this particular topic is something that I am extremely fond of because this is something that I have personally struggled a lot in my life, and what I'm going to share, I wish I knew a part of these informations when I was struggling to build up better habits. Once again, I think you're hearing too much of ambient noise. Sorry for this. And habit is certain things that if we know and if we can have a good set of habit, we can have a prosperous, harmonious life, which can assure that we will succeed, we will become what we want to be. Whereas wrong habits, we know how detrimental it is and how it can dilute our overall life experience. And I think some author said it very nicely. We first make our habit, and then our habit makes us. So whether you're listening to this live or whether you're going to listen to this later on, take a pause, and I invite you to contemplate on what are those habits, irrespective of looking at it as a good habit or bad habit. What are those habits that I constantly repeat? They are established in my life. Well, if you're a yoga teacher, you might wake up in the morning and you do your yoga practice a few times per week or even daily. If you're a martial art practitioner, you do your practice. There are certain things that we do in a repetitive manner. And some of these qualities can be extremely beneficial to know that there are certain things that I can do without even thinking. They are very autonomic. They appear in my life, and I'm doing them without any conscious consultation. I don't need to say this to myself, oh, I have to be into this habit. This happens quite naturally. So what are those habits? I'd really like you to think a while. And then maybe you can categorize, okay, what is a good habit and what's a bad habit? And there's a very simple thing. A good habit is, or good habits are those habits that helps us to fulfill or bring us close towards whatever we are aspiring for and to reach to our full potential. Anything that will help to move forward are good habits. Anything, on the other hand, that adds weight on our shoulder. You go for a hike on the mountain and somebody is putting stones on your backpack. Eventually, the backpack becomes so heavy that it's very challenging for you to keep on hiking forward. So there are such habits that can be like that, So what are those habits? And again, when we look into this from a psychological perspective, and especially from yogic psychology, we are never trying to put ourselves in the box that, oh, this is bad, this is good. Yoga doesn't operate like that. Yoga is maybe the most ancient well-being science which understands the human mind much better than the modern psychology, for sure. And from this perspective, we understand how the mind functions, how we train our mind, and then how the mind operates in a day-to-day basis. And that is something that I want to understand here. habits are not just a wish, I want to do this and I don't want to do that. Habits are what our nervous system has learned consciously or unconsciously. And we all know this, that more than 70-80% of our life, we are operated by unconsciousness. We are operated by subconscious mind. So now then, how much of these habits that you already have in your life are your conscious decisions? Might be very few. And this can be a generalization, but those habits can be very few habits that you have decided to build up over the years. Then the question appears, what do I do with whatever I have learned unconsciously? And that is where we take a deep dive into psychology. Say, from the first day, since we are born and we are existing in this planet, we do have a mind. The mind might not be operating in the way we want the mind to operate, but the mind is very much present. And as a newborn, our mind is very sensorial, and a predominant intention is very binary. For a newborn baby, for the entire developmental years, a small child is only thinking of, how can I be safe? How can I be safe, and how can I stick around my tribe? In other words, we can say, love me and don't leave me. Because this is what gives us a sense of protection. Now, this sense of security was offered by many things in our life. A common, let's say, negative habits that many of people whom I'm working with, they complain about is they simply cannot control their food habits. They are very much into compulsive eating. They munch. They choose wrong kind of foods. And if you'll go deeper into this aspect, we will understand the food represents the mother. Food is always the mother. You know, no matter who you are, whether you're an Indian or an African or a Chinese, the nature of every mother is to just to make sure that their kids are well fed. And I can pretty much bet on this. If you pick up the phone and you can call your mother, one of the first 3 questions that she will ask you, have you eaten your food? Are you well fed? And this nature that the food is related to the mother is a important psychological understanding that we develop in an early years. And then over the time, any longing for the motherly energy or the feeling of comfort, the comfort that the mother offers, will automatically direct us towards food. And I'm not referring to that you will go and grab French fries or you will have chips or something else, but the relationship with the food is highly dependent on our relationship with our mother. Now, an important thing is we can sit back and really understand, so there's an area in my psyche which has a longing to feel safe, be protected by the mother. And that's why I might be unknowingly doing some compulsive eating. Good. So then what you as an adult might be pointing that, oh, this is not so good. I have a bad habit, but this bad habit was once helping you to feel comfortable. And the same thing we can talk also about other habits, whether it's smoking, whether it's an alcohol, or whether it's any kind of drug dependency, shopping addiction, any kind of habit that we get into. And I'm predominantly talking about the negative habit has a relationship that fulfills something else. Also, the habit of something that is positive, of somebody doing their fitness regime, somebody taking care of their well-being, it is triggered by a deeper, subtle sense, which is most of the time rooted at the domain of unconsciousness. So today we don't go too deep into that domain of why the habit and what object is related to what kind of psychophysiological relationship of habit. We are talking mostly around the line of how you can develop better habits. And to this, one important thing we should know, a habit can take between 18 days to more than 254 days, and this is kind of done in research on this, for us to convert a trait, convert a habit into our muscle memory, and that will remain constant, regular, and will become part of our life. Now, again, I'm going to ask you, if I may, to close your eyes for a couple of minutes and think about what are those, and especially I'm talking about the positive habits now, that are present in my life. Take a moment and think about, okay, what do I do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, that I consider as positive, and I will consider them as my good habits. Now, I'm not asking you to disclose those to me unless you wish to, but you should know if one of those habits, if you have created them consciously, if it is a habit that you have acquired with some practice, you are most likely to gone through a psychological condition where you needed to take into confidence your nervous system, your brain, and to be more precise, a very specific part of the brain, which is known as the limbic system. So what is the limbic system? If you have the medical background, you know that is that part of the brain which is related to the emotion, sentiments. I remember there was an interview of a 90-plus-year-old person, actually an Indian guy, Indian origin guy who's living in San Francisco. And he has the good habit to go for a run across the San Francisco Bridge, which is more than a mile, every single morning, no matter what. Whether it's a rain, whether there's a storm, he does that. And then in that interview, the journalist asked him, "Sir, what goes in your mind that you go and you do this run every single day, even at this advanced age?" So one of the first reply he gave, he said, "I don't think." In the morning when I wake up, I'm not in a conversation with myself that, oh, brother, it's a good time, you're getting old, you're putting on weight, and you should run on this and that. He doesn't go for any kind of conversation. He just do what it needs to be done. And this is an indication that when you can execute an action without consulting and convincing your brain every single day, it indicates that you have lower limbic friction. This term, the limbic friction, means when your limbic system needs a warm-up, needs a convincing process before it can act. And why do we need it? And what exactly is limbic system or limbic friction? Limbic friction is basically one of the two states that stops us from doing something that we should do. It could be either you're really so anxious, like, you're here and you go to meet the Dr. Jasim or Dr. Belaku, and they said, okay, listen, you need to wake up in the morning and you have to meditate for 30 minutes when you finish your day. But when you finish your day, what happens? You simply cannot log out. You cannot just stop checking your cell phones and your emails and the presentation and your whatnot responsibilities in your life. They are playing in your head that you cannot say, okay, pause. Now for the next 30 minutes, I'm going to sit down and take care of myself. And this state is an anxious state that stops us from unplugging, that stops us from logging out at our conscious will. Or sometimes we are so tired, mentally, physically, emotionally, that we cannot gather enough energy to lift ourselves and get going to what we should be doing. And these two qualities, we can swing from one to another, are part of this limbic friction. And when we want to develop any good habit, this is one thing that we have to first really try, instead of pushing ourselves, even though we understand that, waking up in the morning, doing yoga is great and all that, or eating healthy is a great thing. But we cannot do this is because of we have a high limbic friction. So as we have done enormous amount of research on habit building, we have studied people who are going to Olympics. We have studied people who are pro athletes. We have studied people who cannot sustain doing a specific task for a long time. And what we understood, the purpose or the methodology of building habit will be understanding few basic human traits. And one of such thing is known as this, we have to create linchpin habit. I hope you have some fresh air now. So one of such thing is about having a linchpin. You know what's a linchpin, right? There's this grenade and it has this pin that has to be removed before you throw the grenade so the explosion can take place. So linchpin is basically mean something that is going to trigger you to do an action. So again, there was this research, and I think this was done in the Columbia University, sorry, in the John Hopkins Medical School. And so there was a canteen, hospital canteen, where they were serving food, and then next to the food counter, there was this vending machine which had all this cola and soft drinks. And people used to get their food, and then people used to go and take the cola and stuff, go to their the table and have their food. It continued to happen, all this, for multiple years. Then the authorities, the psychology department who was running this research, what they did, they moved the vending machine to the other corner of the same room. So it is there, but in the corner. And next to the food, they left a basket of those 500 milliliters of water bottles. And in 1 month, they noticed that the number of people who crossed the corner of the room and took the soda can has reduced, and the people picking up the water bottle has increased. Now, the psychology behind this is, if you see a glass of water, there's a higher chances you will pick the glass of water, because that's what you're newly programming yourself. You're building what we called in Sanskrit samaskaras, और हम लोग बोलते हिंदी में संस्कार, right? So sanskar is in English word is archetype, which means something that is extremely small, minute, that enters in your system, and then it builds up, and then it builds up and gives a form. It gives an akar. So the word samaskara means some coming from the total, and akar is the form. This samskar can be built. It's not that you don't want to drink the cola anymore, but just because you're seeing a bottle of water, you're picking up the bottle of water. So one of the good things that while building up a habit, it would be good to have multiple reminders and multiple cues. And the more there are cues, the easier it will be to build a positive, healthy samaskaras. Now, let's say I go to Dr. Belaku or Dr. Dipti, and they tell me, okay, Avi, I think you are almost 50, you have to cut down on your meat, you should be eating more of broccoli and more of salads and whatnot. But every single time I'm going out in the city with my friends, we go to a steakhouse or we go to a burger place, which might also have a salad. I'm not denying that. But what are the probability that I'm going to keep on ordering a salad? Very less, because I am being programmed. My ecosystem are going to influence my inner state. And this is something that you can obviously understand being in IVAC. You know, when you take a walk towards the dining area, there are multiple reminders to maintain the silence. The people, the staff, they're not going to get very chatty with you. And these are a small, subtle cues that helps you to understand, whoa, I can eat in silence. I can take this time to become more quiet. So like this, we try to build the samaskaras, and as we try to build samaskaras, there's another thing that we need to understand, explore, that will be, what is the strength of my habit? What's the strength of my habit? Every habit has certain power. In the beginning of the year, you can develop a New Year resolution. I will do this, this, and this to maintain my well-being. And most likely, after a while, you drop it. Or we at least know one of such friend. It might not be applicable to you because, of course, I trust that's definitely not you. But you might have a friend who says, New Year resolution, 5K jogging in the morning, then having my fresh fruit juice and the fruits and the meal by 11:30, afternoon yoga nidra, evening yoga practice, going to bed by 9, less time on social media and whatnot. By the time these wonderful souls are celebrating Valentine's Day, all is wiped away from their headspace. Why? Just because you think they didn't want to do this? Absolutely not. The wish was very sincere. The wish was very sincere. You want to grow a plant, you take a seed, you have all the sincerity, but you cannot live it on the concrete. It will not find its root. So you need to give the right kind of soil where it can spread. And once it's a weak seed, and once it spreads its roots, there has to be supporting system that will sustain the growth. And that's where the habit strength comes into play. So you can ask yourself, as you have identified, these are the habits that I have in my mind, or that is already in place to an extent. Now you can write down, are they context dependent or are they context independent? And let me give you an example. First, what is context dependent? It's your friend who calls you on Friday afternoon saying, hey, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, I'm coming and knocking at your door. We are going to go for a jog. You say, okay. And you say, okay, because the friend is coming and you can spend some time and let's go for the jog. Great. But will you be doing the same thing on the Sunday morning when you are not receiving a phone call? When you don't have a workout buddy, when nobody is watching you? Debatable, right? Or maybe you will do it. And then what is context independent habit? A very simple one is brushing your teeth. When you're living in your home, I imagine you brush your teeth twice a day at least. You will brush your teeth whether you are staying in IVAC, whether you are vacationing in Honolulu, you will brush your teeth. Doesn't matter. You are not going to say, oh, today I don't have any meeting. I'm not meeting any friends as such. Why the hell should I brush my teeth? It's not going to be the case. Same, I believe, for your taking a bath, taking a shower, having your meals. So there are certain things that are very context independent. You will do this no matter where you are. And if you want to develop any habit, any good habit, I want you to remember this. You have to surround yourself around these kind of habits which are already in place, which are context independent. Habits are very tribal in nature. So if you want to build a habit, you build it along and around one thing that is already in place. And that could be anything. With this, you start abhyasa. And this is one of the first concept in yogic scripture. We say it's only the one who does the abhyasa will gain the wisdom. Not one who is smart, not one who is the son of the guru or of the king or of this and or of that. No, there's only one quality that will decide who is going to gain the wisdom, the knowledge, the power, the one who does the abhyasa. Now, there's something, a very close word that is there in Sanskrit, and it can be very loosely translated in English, that is called anushashanam. You know the meaning of anushashanam? Discipline. This is the English word, discipline. But anushashanam is a very beautiful word. If we can just understand this, we will understand how yoga psychology works and how beautifully it helps us to evolve. The word anu means molecule, something like a grain of sand. And shashanam meaning to develop control. So the indication is go step by step, make baby step, and develop control, one small aspect at a time. You don't have to run the marathon in 1 week, but you can wear your sneakers and take 10 minutes walk, 5 minutes walk. You can put on your sneakers and walk inside your house. You don't have to do something big. Maybe the next month, next week, you can say, okay, last week it was 10 minutes. This time I can do 15 minutes more. Eventually, it can become a bit of a jog. Eventually, it can become a run. So in a very progressive manner, you are invited to engage your mind, your body, yourself, with which you can develop the habit. And then there's another wonderful thing, again, coming from the old Indian texts. And the saying goes, yatha drushti, tatha shrishti. Whatever you think, that you become. We don't doubt that. You know? Whatever you think, that you become. But in the ancient text, it doesn't say, okay, go and do daydreaming and you will become that. It said it in a slightly more powerful way. It said, use it as a shankalpa. Use it as a shankalpa. Meaning what? That as you are deciding on something to happen, you are practicing your meditation, your visualization along with it, on it. You are visualizing yourself. If your aim is to be healthy, you're waking up in the morning, you are seeing yourself healthy, and that visualization is vivid, crystal clear. It's not one day I will be healthy, but in this very moment, I am healthy. And you create a mission statement. You create a phrase. And as you keep on repeating it, your mind starts changing. Your mind starts changing. Not that you are going to become healthy just by repeating, I am healthy. You will start making better choices that will ensure your health. So this will be another area which we could work on, that is developing positive sankalpas, intentions, combine it with your daily meditation to work on yourself. And this will help you to build better habits. And the next one, you might find, it might be slightly out of space why he's mentioning this, but it's of an immense importance. Saucha. The word saucha means cleanliness. Cleanliness is not taking 3 showers a day. Cleanliness is not necessarily wearing a fantastically ironed shirt every time. Cleanliness indicates that you have free, uncontaminated space in your life. In your wardrobe, in your cell phone, in your head, you have free, empty space where you can download new stuff. If everything is full, there is no way we can add more stuff to the lifestyle. It's full. I understand maybe that going for a run or going to the gym is good for me, but I don't have any more space. My life is full of clutter, of responsibilities. So before we add something new in a habit building, I would normally suggest my clients with whom I'm working individually, what is that one thing you are ready to let go? What is consuming a good chunk of time from your schedule in your agenda that you're ready to let go? And when you create the space, now you use a positive sankalpa. Now you use the power of discipline, of anushasanam, and you go and do the practice. But remember, the word here is to go slow, to take it easy, and to understand how you can reduce the limbic friction. Limbic friction will be reduced when you associate with the habit that you want to build along with something that is already there. If somebody have ever told you you should meditate, I will suggest you try to do that either 10 minutes before your meal or 10 minutes before you go to sleep or the moment when you wake up in the morning, because your sleep and your food habits are already in place. And you can add around it, and it will be easier for you to develop the habit. So I hope you can continue to build your good habits. And if there's anything that you would like to ask more precisely, we have just under 5 minutes. You can ask and I'll be happy to share my thoughts.
Dr. Majumdar?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I just want to convey to you that you picked a very complex, a very deep, a very difficult subject, but the ease with which you conveyed your thoughts to us shows your expertise shows how well you have yourself practiced and developed yourself as a human, pursuing, as you said, your full potential. I was very, very impressed to hear you speak with such clarity and such simplicity, with such logical steps for us to follow you. Thank you very much for your time and for your patiently taking us through this. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
सोचा कि हम ठीक किया, ये सोचा जो है वो ठीक है ना, मतलब हड़वंश। वो अंकल की
That's it, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.